Okay, we're almost done here.
A little bit about it. To start with, let me ask you a question. How many of you like to retire on a $100,000 a year pension after 18 months on the job? How many of you like to go into a business for no money down that grosses $30 million a year?
Yeah.
How'd you like to get paid $5 million a year, whether you can make anything or not?
Yeah.
If you want to go into the anthrax vaccine business, don't know anything about it, don't know what your product will do, don't know what it's supposed to do, don't know if it'll hurt people, then this is the business for you. Oops, I guess you can't have it. The state of Michigan's already given it away. The only one in the state, the only one in the country. Let me talk a little bit about how that deal happened. A little about the background of some of the principal owners. They didn't know much about biology, didn't know what a slide rule was for, but they did know the right people in the governor's office in the Defense Department. I first heard rumors that the director and aides of the state-owned Michigan Biological Products Institute were going to sell themselves the lab in early 1995. I said, no way. I said, this is too outrageous even for the Engler administration to do. It was not too outrageous. Pete Marwick, the national accounting firm, valued the lab at $0 to $10 million. 0 to 10 million with 16 major buildings, 40 acres on the east side of Lansing Airport. Pete Marwick got their numbers from the Michigan Department of Management and Budget. And Management and Budget got their numbers from Meyer and Van Ravensway, who had every interest in minimizing its value because they were going to sell it to themselves. We got them to punt once because in the middle of the deal, the $100 million military contract for the anthrax vaccine was announced in Washington, making it pretty difficult for them to say that the lab wasn't worth anything. We thought we'd won. We were wrong. They came back after Christmas that year, reformed as Bioport, and sold it to themselves in a deal so leveraged it was actually better than nothing down. They got paid to take it. It was advertised as a $25 million, including interest. After you subtract the interest that they never paid, subtract the accounts receivable, and add the money that the Pentagon gave them right after the sale, they got paid to take it. They minimized the value of the lab because they said the anthrax vaccines were for $3 a dose. Before the ink was dry on the sales contract with the state, they went to the Pentagon and said, we can't make money on the deal at $3 a dose. Will you give us $10 a dose? And by the way, would you give us $10 million? The Pentagon gave them the $10 a dose and said, we won't give you $10 million, we'll give you $18 million. The Bioport used that money to pay off the state of Michigan. They've been given $5 million a month since, $130 million total, and they can't ship the vaccine because as of yet, they don't have FDA approval, and you've heard from other speakers here as to why the FDA should not give them approval. I said I was going to talk a little bit about the principal owners of Bioport. First, former chair of Joint Chiefs, Admiral William Crowell. I asked him what was going to be better about the lab after it was privatized. He said, we're private enterprise and we're more efficient. Immediately after that statement, they asked for emergency relief, and as I said, have gotten $130 million since. He kept as director and continues to keep Robert Meyer. If Meyer was such a bad manager as a bureaucrat, why does he keep him on as manager in the new, supposedly more streamlined operation? Robert Meyer, a veterinarian and a longtime director of the state-owned lab, said in 1988, it would cost $270 million and take 7 to 10 years to replicate the state-owned vaccine. But he said in 1995, the lab was worth 0 to 10 million and then sold it to himself. The FDA in its 2000 report refers to mysteriously altered documents. This is consistent with what I know about Meyer. As a state rep, a former employer came to me and told me that Meyer told her to sign off on a part of the production process she had not performed. She refused. Her name was forged and the lot was shipped. Fuad El-Hibri. El-Hibri, a friend of Crowell and Meyer, trained as an accountant, has family money. Some of it is a result of going into the cell phone business in Venezuela. no training as a scientist or biologist, is a principal of Porton International, a firm involved in taking the British anthrax vaccine lab private. They've also had a lot of problems with the British anthrax vaccine. That vaccine remains a voluntary shot for the British military. Supposedly the money man behind the deal, but he didn't need any of his own. They had the Pentagon's deep pockets and the pockets of the American taxpayers. Robert Van Ravensway, background as a failed real estate developer, close ties with the Michigan governor's office, knew nothing about biology or vaccines, became a principal owner of Bioport after working for the state-owned lab briefly. Worked for Bioport for approximately 14 months and retired with a $50,000 a year pension and another $50,000 a year consulting contract. One of the people the Defense Department Auditor General was probably referring to when he faulted Bioport for spending, quote, excessive amounts of money on consulting for unclear purposes. In the same report, the Defense Department Auditor General said he doubts Bioport's ability to ever meet the terms of its contract. If the Bioport owners I just talked about were trying to buy a casino in the state of Michigan, they likely could not pass a background check. Yet they've been entrusted with the lives of the nation's defenders. They've been entrusted with the lives of our warriors, and there are many members of the armed forces present today that have said they've failed that trust. The Center for Disease Control and the National Institute of Health, in cooperation with the FDA, should have an enlarged and clearly defined role in the production of an improved and proven vaccine, if that's what we need. A role that would lessen the political pressure on the FDA, the FDA is under. The vaccine developed, if it needs to be developed, should maintain the same standard for the military that it does for the public. It does not now meet the same standard. We need a better vaccine, one that does not take 6 shots in 8 months to administer. We need a better vaccine that protects against airborne and genetically altered anthrax. We need a second source for it, with both conforming to current good manufacturing practices. This would promote competition. There is not now competition. Our frontline providers, our military, our police, our firefighters, our mail handlers, our public health workers deserve no less. Thank you.